107 Tire and Service Center, we pride ourselves on being professional and reliable while giving you an honest service at an affordable price. From alternators, brakes, and computer diagnostics to motors and transmissions, most repairs come with a 12-month and 12,000-mile warranty on parts and labor. Need tires? We have those too. Major brands such as Cooper, Hankook, Michelin, and more. We are a family-owned, operated business located at 6256 Irwin Highway, Chuckey, Tennessee. Call or stop by today for a quote or repair. 423-620-4970.
When it rains, it drains. Call Houston Guttering for commercial or residential guttering work. With over 20 years experience, owner and operator Kerry Houston can take care of you. Plus, they give free estimates, repairs on 5 and 6-inch gutters, window screens, blown attic insulation. They take care of you with all work guaranteed. Call 931-267-5803. That's 931-267-5803. Or check them out on Facebook. In Middle Tennessee, there's only one name to know. That's Houston Guttering. Call them today.
Good evening, race fans. Welcome to the Pro Late Model Dirt Series 2021 Fall Nationals. Today we're at USA International for the Whoopin' the Wuhan Flu 30. Looking forward to a great night of great dirt racing. My name is James East, and tonight I'm accompanied by Kenny Kibbe and Mike Yao running the production booth here today. Kenny, it's our first time here with this series. We're at a 3/4 mile an hour high horsepower dirt track. What are you expecting from our drivers here today?
Yeah, thanks for having me, James. This is going to be a hyper competitive field tonight with these pro late models, high horsepower, low grip in these corners, but you can really experiment with the low and the high lines here. It's going to be wide down the front and back stretch, but it's going to narrow up as you get down into the corners here. We'll talk about that later with the varying different lines people are going to use tonight. And it's going to be interesting to see how the track evolves and how these guys adapt to being in traffic and adapt to the track conditions as we go on tonight.
Yeah, okay, we're watching in practice. It looks like the track's really starting to slicken up already. And our current points leader, Ryan Underwood's only second fastest in practice. You think that's going to change as the night goes on, or do you have a fan favorite here you think might be able to bring it home here today at USA International?
Well, one thing about these dirt practices especially is, we start with a 0% track state where the track is as grippy and as fresh as it's going to be all night. And with these guys in the pro late models, the track state is going to roll over as we go on. It's never going to get reset. So you might have a fast time early on when the track is fresh, but I'm looking for the guy who's able to run consistent lap times, fast times, as the track drops off in pace. That is the guy who's going to win the race tonight. And, we got guys like Ryan Underwood who've been super competitive. Ethan Toder, though, came out and won the race last time out at, I think it was Fairbury. So there are plenty of guys that are plenty capable of winning tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be the interesting thing. We've got so many talented drivers making their way out for this series as well, battling each other and the track. So I'm excited to see what's going to be happening, as I believe we're getting ready to send them out here for qualifying here today as practice starts to run to an end. But it looks like a healthy field, 20 drivers making their way out here today. Packed grids, big racing. I'm looking forward to another great night here with the series.
Yeah, interesting to note that 24 drivers would normally make the field, so everybody should make the feature tonight. But 20 drivers is plenty of traffic on this 3/4 mile dirt track. Like I said, it's going to be wide down the straightaways, but it's going to narrow up in the corners. You're going to see guys that are going to really charge the entry to the corners and really try to get everything, doing slide jobs, things like that. But you're also going to see guys that are going to back up that entry, try to get a straight launch off of the corner and carry that momentum down the straightaways. So that's where you might see some contact or problems tonight with as much traffic as we're going to see.
Now with these guys, again, they're so talented. They're all really familiar driving around with each other. But actually, let's take a look at the championship standings. As right now, it's Ryan Underwood out front with 535 points. Ethan Toder, though, he's not far behind, only about 20 points off our race leader. I mean, this field is still pretty close. I dare say it's still anybody's game. I mean, Kenny, do you have any thoughts? Do you think it's fairly close? Are we going to see maybe Underwood run away with it here today, or what's your expectations?
Well, I think Underwood has been really consistent, but he's the only guy who's won twice, or more than once, I should say, in these nationals. But Toder's been up there, Cardwell has been up there, and he's actually leading the practice. Dylan Perry's another guy who's quite fast. And there's plenty of guys who haven't necessarily run all of the events, so maybe they're not in for the championship, but they're definitely going to make hay in these events that they do decide to run in.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting show all the way through. I'm excited to see what's going to happen. I believe we're going to get Underwood up in the booth later here to talk about his experience in the Carrier Fall Nationals. But a lot of the guys coming out each and every week on a Wednesday night. They start off spring 2021, and now we're rolling into the fall season. But I think it's the biggest thing to take away here is these guys couldn't figure out a better way to spend a Wednesday night besides racing virtual cars with all their friends from across the world, not just across the country. And that's kind of one of my favorite things to see as a broadcaster. It brings people from all over the world together, and you get to see some great racing and hopefully put on a great show for our fans here today.
Yeah, you get guys from a lot of different disciplines, guys that have, guys who are real racers who currently race, guys who used to race, guys who have never raced, and they all seem to kind of come together. A lot of them have similar skill levels, but you have different disciplines as well. There's guys in here that are probably, dedicated to the dirt side of iRacing, which is a brilliant thing that iRacing added a few years ago, being able to race on dirt. And you got guys like Steven Spies, who has proven in other leagues that he's run against. I've actually raced against him, where you can run in the dirt, you can run on the pavement. It doesn't matter. So it's really interesting to see all people from, like you said, around the world, around the country, come together in one place and have a lot of fun but also be competitive about it. These guys, they definitely want to win. They want to have fun, but they want to go out there and beat the competition.
Yeah, we talked about how varied the field here is. I've got it pulled up on my live timing screen. Most of these drivers for the official iRacing Dirt Series all hold an A license. We've got a couple C drivers, and then the iRating for our viewers at home that are maybe tuning in for the first time, supporting their favorite drivers here at the Dirt Late Model Series. You kind of get a ranking on iRacing based on how much you run the official series. And without kind of boring people with numbers, let me tell you, a lot of these numbers are very, very high compared to what you'd see across the surface. So that shows that these guys run, and they run often, and more importantly, they win often, as we've got an absolute stacked field here today, as we've now added another driver, Dennis Smith, making it here to the late entry in his number 9 machine. So very, very stacked field. I'm going to be very interested to see how this thing goes as we get ready to send them out for our Houston guttering time trial. That will be 2 laps our drivers take around the track here today, setting their best time, and that will decide where they start in the heats, as well as possibly get them a little bit better position in the main, depending on how the rest of their night will go.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see what kind of line these guys are going to run in qualifying. At the beginning, if we're on a fresh racetrack, I would definitely say the bottom line would be the fastest way around. You want to go the shortest distance. But as this track wears out, that top line with the momentum is going to be key. So we'll have to keep an eye out on what these guys do, if they experiment with lines. The only problem is, you see some dirt leagues, they'll give you 4 laps to get a qualifying lap in. These guys only have 2. It's kind of the standard from the pavement side, 2 laps. So you don't have time to mess around, really. You got kind of maybe 1 banker lap, but that's it, and you got to go for it.
Yeah, as we're watching right now, Justin Sick going to be the first driver out for that Carrier Fall Nationals Houston guttering time trials. And like you said, with both of us having a whole lot of oval experience, we're kind of used to where you get that warm-up lap, run the high line, and then get as low as you possibly can to try and make the track just a little bit smaller. These drivers don't really have the advantage. They're going to be looking for not necessarily the smallest, shortest way around the racetrack, but maybe the line with the most amount of grip. As we see Sick getting ready to put down his opening timed lap here. Going to be intrigued to see what he can do in that number 5 machine. Now, Kenny, what do you think the preferred line is around this track in qualifying? Is it just trying to find a little bit of moisture in the dirt, or maybe make the track a little bit smaller?
Well, with how worn out the track is at this point, I'm starting to think that you're going to want to go up towards the top of the track, at least entering the corner, and then kind of get that straight exit off. I think on the bottom you're just going to lose too much momentum by just running around that low side. You're going to be really managing the throttle. I think you're going to have to at least go up to the middle, if not up to the top. You see, like, there's the marbles up towards the top of the wall, so they haven't really been up at the fence yet, but the groove has definitely moved up from where we started.
Yeah, as we're watching Steven Spies, number 55 machine, I believe we may have just panned the camera right in time, but he's going to dive through turn 1. He seems to be running a little bit lower line here, as he is currently sitting on top of pole. No, it's going to be Cardwell, the number 70 machine, clicks off a 22.17 to bring home his qualifying session. Speeds will get just edged out the number 55 machine with a 22.28, but I'm looking at right now as the top 9 drivers have qualified. Not a lot of time separating everybody out on track. I believe we're less than 8 tenths, currently separating first to about 12th here today. So the field coming out early on, showing how close they're going to run. And is this any indicator of what we're going to see in the heat races? I think we're looking forward to a very exciting night.
Yeah, these guys keep swapping spots up near the top. You got John Foskey is a name I have not noticed. He has gone up to P2 on the board. So that's a name to keep an eye out for. But it's pretty impressive that Davin Cardwell, who is fastest in practice, also fastest in qualifying right now. That's pretty impressive, backing that up.
Yeah, he came out and he was 700s faster than John Foskey, as I believe qualifying is going to wrap up here at USA International. We're going to get ready to send them out for the Carrier heat races. Now, these are going to be 8 laps each to decide who's going to get the best qualifying or best starting position for the main event. And then we're going to roll right into the Combs Cut Last Chance Showdown. But let's go ahead and take it through tonight's grid. Kenny, you want to grab that one?
Yeah, so the heat number 1 will be Davin Cardwell starting from the pole. Kyle Parker will start next to him, another name I haven't recognized. Dylan Perry will be 3rd, Justin Sick in 4th, DC Smith in 5th, followed by Daniel Blau. Andy Piercefield will be in 7th, Cody Terry in 8th, and in the final row will be Jordan Van Westen and Joshua Johnson. Top 4 will advance through to the feature. We got 10 laps to get it done. You got any pick, James, for this first heat?
It's a tough one, man. I mean, it's an easy pick, but I'm going to go with Cardwell, number 70 machine, starting on pole for this one. He was so fast in practice, fast in qualifying, and a very experienced dirt racer. So I'm going to keep an eye on the number 70 machine. Now, if you want me to go for the underdog, I'm going to go for Jordan Van Western, only because he's got a similar but opposite last name as me.
That's good enough for me. That's definitely good enough for me. Dylan Perry's a name I'm going to keep an eye out for. He's been competitive. He's a really fast guy in the service. Qualified in third. If he, really, if he can get a good start here and have a nice clean track in front of him, it all depends on what the guys in the front row do. If the leader slides up into turn one, leaves the door open, if Perry can have a really good, really roll through the middle of 1 and 2, he could have a shot down in 3 and 4 on the first lap.
Yeah, that's a good point to talk about. You touched on early on. We think we have enough drivers where everyone should make the main event here today. So I'm almost wondering if that's going to give drivers a little bit more confidence, a little bit more reason to send it in the opening laps, knowing that no matter what they do, they'll still qualify for the main. So I'm wondering if we're going to see a little bit more risky driving out of the guys here in the first heat race, knowing that there's still a lot on the line. You want the best position you can for that feature event here tonight, but maybe you're willing to risk it a little bit more, knowing that you might still be able to make the final cut without any big problems.
Another thing that's interesting too is that these are big heat fields. Sometimes in other leagues you'll see heats where it'll be like twice as many heats as we're going to have tonight, and you'll have only like 4 or 5 drivers. This is a big heat field, so you're going to have a lot of guys around, a lot of spots that you can make up, but also a lot of spots that you can lose. So you kind of have to, you really have to, manage that risk, if you will. But yeah, I think you will see some guys make some aggressive moves. It's short race, so you got to make stuff happen quickly.
Yeah, as we're on board, Justin Seek, in the number 5 machine. He is going to be starting about in 4th here on the second row, right behind Kyle Parker, as we get ready for that iRacing pace car to make its way in, and we're going to get the party started in fashion here with these dirt races. Not sure what we're going to see, but I'm expecting a whole lot of excitement here today, because USA International, just a long enough track to really get some momentum built up before you start hucking it in there, and especially when you're side by side in the opening laps. I think our fans at home are about to see quite an exciting show.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to watching these guys dive down into turn 1. You're going to see a lot of different lines, a lot of different approaches to the corners. We're about to take the green.
As let's see what happens at USA International. The lights go out, the flagman waves, and we're going to get this party started. Already a huge crash. I believe that was Cody Terry, number 25 machine, getting absolutely tossed around as we go on board, with our replay of the night. Not long for this race. I think just got hooked ever so slightly, and a violent hit in the outside wall. So that's the number 25 of Cody Terry and the 75 of Andy Piercefield that are immediately taken out here. So not even a lap. I'm not sure if that's what I expected in this first heat race, but I've got to say, at least it's going to be an exciting night if this is how things are going to go for our drivers.
Yeah, on that initial wreck, sometimes I know with these cars they're so wedged up, and they really are very uncomfortable to drive in under caution. And so, sometimes you'll get on the throttle and the car will kind of just move to one side, and I wonder if that's what happened. But regardless, a little bit of incidental contact, obviously not intentional, but some damage for some guys early, and that's going to really kind of disturb the rhythm for some of these guys that were really ready to fire off. And now some of these guys now have to go to the back. They got some of them have damage, like Cody Terry, his back end's all messed up. But yeah, that was definitely not the start that a lot of these guys were looking for.
And while we do have this early caution here tonight, I want to go ahead and thank all of our fans from across the world that are tuning in here tonight, supporting your favorite broadcasters, your favorite league, as well as everybody here at the Virtual Grip Network. We see you guys each and every week that like the videos, subscribe, and those that are giving shout-outs to their favorite drivers. Let me tell you, a lot of these drivers already have the broadcast pulled up on a spare screen, and most, if not all of them, will go back after tonight, and they will see your comments. So let us know who you're cheering for from across the world, because this broadcast would not happen without you guys, and we are greatly appreciative. And otherwise, Kenny and I would not have nearly as much fun and exciting evenings on a Wednesday night. So thank you guys.
Yeah, it's definitely one thing I do from a driver's standpoint. I'll go back and I'll watch these broadcasts, not just for fun either, but also to learn, see what I could have done differently. These films are actually, educational at some points, but it's a heck of a lot of fun to see you yourself or your friends on the big screen and competing out here in iRacing. It's just a lot of fun to get together with your friends and do these things. But we're finally ready for the restart, and we can actually get this heat race underway.
Yeah, let's see if we can maybe get a lap going under green flag conditions. It was not a long start on that one. as we're going to get ready to get things pointed back in the right direction. Here we go once more. USA International. David Carwell leads the field in, but Dylan Perry's trying to slide up the inside line. Kyle Parker running the high line. You've got the number 5 of Justin Seek trying to get a groove in as well. Now, Kimmy, I mean, where do you think guys are going to try and make a move here early on, or are they going to try and play nice and sit around and click off some laps?
Well, I feel like you got to go. I mean, that first lap, maybe they were trying to kind of make sure they weren't going to wreck again in one lap, but I mean, it's a short race. You got to go. So I think at this point, you're trying to figure out what the guy in front of you's weaknesses are and try to run a different line than him, or just, figure out where you can take advantage, but also watching behind, make sure that you're not going to get pounced on from behind and lose spots as you're trying to gain.
Yeah, such a tough spot to be in. I mean, you either do really well or you may have a problem and call the night early, but look at that. Cardwell clicks off the fastest lap of the race with a 22.3. Absolutely humming in that number 70 machine. He's got about 3/10 over Parker as you're on board. Dylan Perry, he is currently 7th on track, down 1 spot from where he started. But I think after that initial start, he may just be happy to keeping things pointing in the forward direction and trying to secure a good spot for the future.
A lot of these guys are basically mirroring each other in the line that they're running. Nobody's really close enough to be in that striking distance. You do see Dylan Perry, he's going down to the bottom, but he's got space behind him, so he can afford to try something different to try to catch up to these guys as we pass the halfway mark in this first heat race. But riding on the suspension, the left rear of David Cardwell. Looking back at the competition, as we do have a side-by-side battle for P2.
Yeah, that's going to be Kyle Parker, Justin Seek putting in work here. Parker and Seek kind of running identical lines here, trying to get up on that cushion. And, I mean, as the night progresses, there's going to be a whole lot of limit on where you can find traction in these high-horsepower cars, as we're going to see some race stripes getting led out on that outside wall through turns 1 and 2. But here comes Justin Seek, the number 5 machine. He was looking to the inside of Parker, but not quite able to get the power down here as we go on board with that number 5 machine, showing you just how close the action is. That number 13 machine keeping about 1/10 of a second ahead of his competition, but these guys are running really, really close here in this opening round.
Yeah, there's not really anything between these top 4 guys, which is pretty impressive. We're coming to 2 to go, and you see the number 7 of Dylan Perry looking underneath of the 15 of Justin Seek, and Seek was also looking underneath Kyle Parker at the same time. That's where you might see, as we have a caution with it.
Yeah, that's going to be DC Smith and the 39 machine. He's going to fall back to 10th after an incident. As let's see what happened to the 39.
Down the back
Oh,
stretch.
low, the 17 bobbled the corner and then kind of slid up in front of Smith. And Smith just kind of innocent victim. That was Daniel Blau in the 17, also involved in that incident.
So that's where you're going to see most of the incidents here at USA, is people with different agendas going in for the same space into these corners. The corners are very tight. You're going to see guys diving into the corners. You're going to see guys throwing slide jobs into the corners. But you also see guys kind of, checking up as well, whether it be intentionally or not. And sometimes that, that lack of, not being on the same page, I guess, going into the corners is going to cause like some really quick closing rates, and sometimes you just can't slow down in time.
Exactly. I mean, these guys are flying around here. 22-second lap times, not a lot of time to make any adjustments. If you're already committed to a corner, things can go very, very bad very, very quickly. Now, I think that incident, I think you called it perfectly. I think the number 17 machine of Daniel Blau, kind of tagged that inside wall and then not quite tagged it in time, and then poor Smith just nowhere to go. And like you said, when you're going so fast and pushing so hard, just not a lot of ways to save yourself.
Yeah, and on top of that too, these dirt late models, dirt cars in general, they don't have great brakes, and it's just a lot of times you're just going for the ride. You're not really able to slow down. Sometimes it's hard to steer away and avoid disaster when it comes to big checkups like that. So it's kind of one of those situations where a guy had a problem up ahead, and he just it's hard to really go anywhere in that short amount of time.
Yeah, and these guys are right on the razor's edge all the way around, both as far as their attention and their trashing goes. And just not a lot of room. As we were saying, if you have problems, you can't really do much to adjust it. If you're already committed, you're committed. And as we always learned in my racing experiences, hesitation leads to pain. So if you find yourself pushing too hard and maybe doing something a little bit different, if you don't commit to it, it can go really, really bad really, really quickly.
So it's interesting. Looks like we're switching things up and going to a single file restart here for a green-white checkered. They don't always do single file restarts here in the Pro Late Model Dirt Series, but we're going to have, 2 laps to go, a green-white checkered. We'll see how this goes. It's going to be a little bit different than the previous restarts.
Yeah, I'm interested to see. It's still going to be Cardwell on the front, or on the very front row, Parker right in tow, and then Justin Seek will be following as well as we get the green flag going. So far, everything goes well, and look at the launch out of Cardwell's number 70 machine. Not having any problems. You've got the 7 of Dylan Perry. He's looking at that inside line, trying to squeeze up one more spot, getting very, very close to Justin Seek, but just not quite able to make it. As man, they are flying through formation in turns 3 and 4.
Dylan Perry still looking underneath of Justin Seek for that podium spot as we enter into the final lap. As Seek got into the wall just a little bit there. We come off of turn 2 for the final time. This is going to be interesting to see what the number 7 does.
Ooh, Perry all the way on the inside line. We're going to go 3 wide here. We've got Seek, Perry, and was that Parker, I think, also in the mix here. So these guys driving the wheels off these things, trying to pick up another spot, but the checkered flag will fly. Cardwell picks up the win in the number 70 machine. He's got to be happy that things went very well for him and kind of avoided any tragedy here today.
Yeah, he really controlled the pace of that heat race. You know, that's the perk of qualifying up front. You get to start up front in your heat and hopefully not make mistakes, and then you get to control your heat race and win it just like that. A pretty much textbook heat race number 1 for David Cardwell. But really, the guys up front, you know, they all pretty much remained in their starting spots, other than Perry getting around Seek for 3rd there at the end. But actually the other way around in that. As we get ready to start heat number 2, do you want to take the grid on this one, James?
Yeah, we've got Steven, is it Spees or Spies? Somebody correct me real quick. Spees, got it, cool. John Foskey, Steven Spees starting up front. Brett Carlton starting 3rd. We've got Ethan Toter starting 4th. Zach Chapman starting 5th. Trace Henderson starting 6th. Colin Voiles starting 7th. Cody Early starting 8th. And then Ryan Underwood, our current points leader, will be starting at the back of the pack here. So that being said, Kenny, who's the favorite here today?
Well, I got my eye on a couple guys. You know, Steven Spees, a guy I'm pretty familiar with on the iRacing service. He's going to be quite fast. Not very high up in the point standings, but he also hasn't run all the events. But John Foskey really surprised me in practice and qualifying. He's been really fast. I think it's going to be one of those front row guys, but I think they also, it's going to come down to the start. How can those guys get off the line?
Yeah, because our last heat race, we didn't get a lap before there was absolute carnage. So let's see if that happens again, as I believe Foskey's going to fall to the back of the line in the 128 machine. Not sure if maybe he got an EOL or if he's got something going on, but he's dropping way, way back here.
Yeah, that's interesting. So we're going to have 2 really fast guys in the very back. We'll have to keep an eye on both of those cars as they battle their way through the field. See if they can increase their starting position for the feature and get as good of a starting spot as they possibly can as we come around turn 4 here to take the green flag.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to see what's going to happen here today. That first heat race, all sorts of excitement. Let's see who it's going to be. Is it Spees and Carlton on the front row as the green flag flies once more for our second heat race of the night? You've got Carlton on the inside line. Spees going to go to the high line. But keep an eye on, I believe that's going to be Zach Toter in the number 23 machine, as we're going to go 3 wide early on here at USA International. This is not a big track, and these are not small cars, so everybody's got to be careful here and give plenty of give and take as you see Speeds get to the back of Carlton ever so slightly. We're going to go 3 wide once more, Kenny.
Oh, look at that, using the grass down into turn 1. That was a little aggressive. Well, this is really going to bunch everybody up, and look who is in the picture already. Ryan Underwood into 3rd place already after that stack up, and he might be looking at a possible heat win here.
Yeah, the 46 machine of Underwood is flying through the field. He's up 6 spots so far, as right now he's side by side with Zach Chapman. We have one of our drivers coming out a little bit too hard out of turn 4 and tag the outside wall. As right as we say that, Underwood drags that back right quarter panel on the wall as well. Up front, it's Ethan Toter, Brett Carlton. They're going side by side as well into turn 3. We've got action all over the track here today. Right now, go ahead.
Yep, Carlton a little bit used up. He used up Toter a little bit there in turn 3 and 4, pushed up the track, took his line away to take the lead away, and that's going to allow the 46 to get even closer yet, as we're looking at Colin Voiles in the battle for 5th, 6th, and 7th at the moment, as we thunder down the backstretch as we approach the beginning of lap number 5. But these guys are way more aggressive than it seems like the guys in the first heat were.
Yeah, this is a little bit violent out here. As you still watch Brett Carlton, he's reading around Ethan Toter, the 23 machine. You've also got Underwood in the 46. He's no stranger to winning, your current points leader, who is having a fantastic run this heat race here today. Not taking any mercy from anybody, as Toter and Underwood both glued to that inside line, trying to drift up to the high line behind Carlton to get set up for turns 1 and 2. But man, these guys are running nose to tail around the circuit here today. First time calling the action with these guys. I've got to say, I'm impressed. It's clean, it's aggressive, and most importantly, it's a whole lot of fun to watch here at USA.
Here goes Toter. He's not going to go for a slide job. He's just going to ride that bottom line. Underwood following right behind these guys, trying to pick which lane to go for, as Toter makes an aggressive move down to the bottom.
Oh, there's the slide.
That was a really good slide job, but look, Carlton in the 224 is going to dive underneath him. I assume he's going to do the same thing. Yep, slide job into turn 3, and here comes Underwood sticking his nose down there. He's been running that bottom line this entire race, and he's really making it work. Got some damage on the right rear.
Yeah, just as you say that, we got contact up front between Toter and Carlton as well. It looks like it's going to slow Carlton's run down ever so slightly. And look at this, here comes Steven Speeds in the 55 machine. He's back with a vengeance, pushing that number 55 back up into 3rd, getting around Underwood. I'm surprised how aggressive these guys have been on that inside line, using every little bit of track surface and then a couple more inches and tearing up the grass here at USA International, just trying to find a little bit of traction to get these cars around their competitors. It's still Toter out front, but right behind is Carlton Speeds Underwood, as it looks like Underwood may be taking over 3rd place here as he goes side by side with Speeds once more. Underwood on the inside line, Speeds on the outside line, and everybody just fighting so hard for any sort of position as the white flag comes out in the 2nd heat of the night.
And one more time around here as we riding on board with Ryan Underwood here, trying to figure out a way to get back around Steven Spees, diving into turn 3 and 4 for the final time. Ethan Toter's actually built up a little bit of a gap. So he's going to come off of turn 4, and he's going to win this final heat as we're going to battle for the podium spot. Spees just barely nabs it there at the end. A very aggressive race in heat number 2.
But we got it through with no cautions. Our first heat race, for those that are just tuning in, did have 2 cautions, so things are getting a little bit cleaner, a little bit more aggressive, as man, they're going to get a... That was exciting. That was a great race to call. There was at no point that I think anybody know who was going to bring home the win there in that one.
Yeah, that was crazy. I mean, that we had 2 heats, and both of them had a totally different vibe to them. They, the first one started rough, but then the second restart there, things kind of calmed down, spread it out. And whereas the second heat didn't produce any cautions, but just was intense the entire way.
Now I'm trying to see, it looks like our drivers are warming up here right now. I'm wondering, are we bypassing the last chance showdown, or do you know what's going on, Kenny?
Yeah, well, it looks like probably since everybody is going to make the feature, it looks like there's not going to be an LCQ, so it looks like we're going to have a 6-minute warm-up and then go directly to the feature, which will be 30 laps.
Gotcha. Now, I'll double check with our production team here. I think we're going to run a couple quick videos, and then we're going to get a driver up here that's currently leading the points, but I'll check with Mike in the production booth to make sure we're going to get that happening. So we'll take a very quick break, and we'll be right back with your current points leader for an in-car interview.
People want to have a one-stop shop. They need us for now all these different services, not just the heating and air side.
When things are going wrong, you want the company that's going to be able to get things done as fast as possible for you.
Today, we're going to be in over 600 homes. What the customers can count on is we're going to send a competent person to your home with a vehicle that's stocked and prepared. We're going to do what's right.
Right now, we're waiving our $79 service fee with any Coolray, Brightbox, or Mr. Plumber service.
Racers that win, pour it in, and we appreciate you.
The race is really short. It's only 30 laps, so we really just gotta get on as fast as we can and pass as many people as possible, which I think I'll be able to do pretty easy. I showed really good speed there in the heat race, so I think we could carry it on to the future.
Awesome.
Ryan, this is Kenny Kibbe up in the booth. We saw you really utilize that bottom lane, which a lot of guys didn't really. They almost seemed like they were maybe afraid to do that in the heat race. You think that's going to be really important to be able to roll the bottom in this feature?
Yeah, to get around people early, and especially on restarts, I just gotta hit the bottom really well. I was doing it there early in the race, and once I got and caught the leaders, I really started to mess up on my line on entry and on exit. So I think if I could stay cool, calm, and collected, I think it'll be easy to make the pass and hopefully jump back up there at the top, which will be the more definite, more dominant line. Sorry.
Awesome. Well, Ryan, thank you as always for your time, my friend. We'll let you get out there and burn some laps here in the warm-up, but we wish you the best of luck in the main event.
Thank you.
And that was your current points leader, Ryan Underwood. He's getting ready to go back out for a little bit more seat time. Now, Kenny, we've made it through 2 heat races. No LCQ tonight since we all made the main event, but what is your expectations? What are you thinking here at this 30-lap shootout?
Well, we saw a lot of guys run up towards the top of the track, but, like what Ryan was saying, rolling the bottom, I think that's going to be really important in order to make up spots. If we end up having cautions with restarts, which could bring chaos, that could really change, the running order of these guys, because, you don't have lane choice if you're the leader, so you kind of have to deal with that, whatever, being on the bottom. Yeah, I think these restarts are going to be nuts, and I think they're going to really kind of determine how things kind of spread out and how the order kind of flows as this race goes. But yeah, I think being able to roll the bottom is going to be so important in this short feature race, and also the aggression is going to be high because of how short it is.
Yeah, I agree, and as you said, if we see those cautions, things can get mighty hectic, because you and I both know, I think most people know, cautions breed cautions, and then you get that field stacked back up together, and all the aggression comes with nowhere to go. Everybody running nose to tail, side by side. So hopefully we can get some good runs out of these guys here today, as I think that's what our drivers are looking forward to as well, as Dylan Perry, Cardwell, Underwood, Toter, and Smith, our current top 5 drivers out here in the warm-up, just trying to use this opportunity to see what the track's doing, seeing how it's developing, maybe try and strategize a little bit in the closing 20 seconds of this warm-up to maybe figure out what they're going to do in the main event here.
Oh yeah, you're definitely going to see guys, running a bunch of different lines, running, low all the way around, or sliding up like the slider line, running up high. You kind of have to try everything, because you might be forced to run those lines at some point, during this feature race. You got to be able to run all of them. You almost see a few whoops kind of showing up in the track here. Not as bad as they have been in previous builds. I know it's gotten really bumpy in tracks like this in previous iRacing builds, but definitely seeing the cars bouncing around as they enter and exit some of the corners.
It's going to be a good one. As we get ready to grid them up here for the final time here tonight, I am excited bringing all the action of the Carrier Fall Nationals. Again, this is the 30-lap main event here today, and I'm excited to see what's going on as we run through tonight's grid. We've got Davin Cardwell, number 70 machine, starting on pole. Ethan Toter in the 23 starting second. Kyle Parker in the number 13 starting third. Brett Carlton, the 224, starting fourth. Justin Seek starting fifth in the number 5 machine. Steven Speeds in the 55 starting 6th. Dylan Perry starting 7th in the number 7. Ryan Underwood, your current points leader, in the 46 starting 8th. Daniel Blau in the 17 starting 19th. Zach Chapman in the 72 starting 10th. We got Joshua Johnson in the 117 starting 11th. And John Foskey in the 128 will be starting 12th. And we'll have Kenny take over from 13th and back.
13th place will be Andy Piercefield in the 75 car, followed by Trace Henderson in 14th in the 03. DC Smith will be 15th in the number 39 machine, followed by Colin Voiles in the number 1 in 16th. Cody Terry will be in 17th, followed by Cody Early. The two Codys, 17th and 18th. And rounding out the field will be the number 12, Jordan Van Westen.
It's going to be an interesting one here. 30 laps, a whole lot of talented drivers, and a championship that has yet to be decided. As your points leader, Underwood, kind of in the middle of the pack here, starting 7th. I'm not sure if that's where I'd want to be if I was in the points battle here.
No, definitely not. But think where he was, though, at the start of his heat race. You know, if he had to just go off of his qualifying and go straight into the feature, you know, he'd be starting at the very back. So at least with his really good performance in the heat race, he's able to gain a bunch of spots and at least move up as far as he has been. And he's proven that he can gain a lot of spots in a very short amount of time. So, you know, it could be worse is basically what I'm saying. He will be in some chaos here, but who won't be, right? It's the start of a dirt race.
Yeah, I was going to get ready to ask you, that's the broadcast wager of the night. How long before we get our first caution tonight here, Kenny?
I have a feeling either we're one of two things. Either we're going to get a caution in the first, 2 laps, or we're going to go green for quite a long time.
I think that's a safe bet. I'm going to go lap 2 is my prediction here today. That first heat race kind of possibly indicative of what we're going to see here tonight as drivers get out, but I think at this point drivers have a lot more to lose if they wad up those machines and send them back to the trailers a little bit early. Nobody wants to have that happen to them. As we get ready to send them out here for the feature event, it's Cardwell and Toter on the front row. And let's get this party started here tonight. The green flag flies and away we go.
Dive down into turn 1. Look at the aggressiveness of Cardwell diving down onto the grass into turn 1. And he's got a huge advantage coming out of turn 2 as we're 3 wide behind him already. Underwood on the bottom side going into turn 3 as we look at Kyle Parker up at the top. These guys are 2 by 2. Some guys stuck in the middle here as we funnel down the front stretch to complete lap 1.
Yeah, Underwood's already up 2 spots in the number 46 machine. He was up 3 at one point as he slides high into Brett Carlton's 224 machine. Oh, I gotta say, this is not where I'd want to be on the track right now. But I can tell you who's happy. It's going to be Davin Cardwell, number 70 machine. He's extended his lead to about 1.3 seconds as they are bumping, grinding, and driving hard, going 2-3 wide, coming out of turn 4. And it looks like that was Kyle Parker. The 13 machine might have gotten a hearty shove into the outside wall as everybody's trying to find a clean way through this track. Some drivers looking for position, some drivers just looking for survival in this early laps, and that's allowing Cardwell with that clean track in front of him just a hot lap. He's been about almost 6/10 faster than the rest of the field here. As from second place back, it is an absolute massive party going on.
Yeah, a couple laps ago, Ethan Toter kind of ran a different line in turn 3 and 4 and really kind of started to check up the guys behind him. They kind of stacked up for a little bit. Everything's been recovered now, but see some guys still on the bottom there. Justin Seeks on the bottom. You got Underwood still rolling the bottom, trying to get up into the top 3, still running that line. Really liking what I'm seeing from this track, though. It's definitely racy. You can run up to, it looks like up to 3 lines.
Yeah, as we've seen him go 3 wide several times here in the opening laps of this feature event. You got guys like Underwood that are glued to that inside line, and then drivers such as Cardwell that are staying on the high line, just trying to find any little bit of moisture you can try and get, as it's going to be very, very dry, slick, as Underwood hits a little bit of a slide job on Kyle Parker to pick up a spot. So Underwood has worked his way all the way up into podium contention, currently third on track. And as his driver profile says, he is, quote, the baddest 15-year-old out on track here today. So showing what it takes to move that number 46 machine through the field at an absolute rapid pace here today at USA.
Well, now in the order, the top 3 drivers are the 3 winners from the spring and fall nationals so far. Davin Cardwell won the first event. Ryan Underwood won the second and the third for the spring nationals, and Ethan Toter won the last race out in the first event of the fall nationals. So the cream has risen to the top, but Cardwell has skedaddled. He is gone. Unless we get a caution, I mean, it is early, but he is just putting on a rampant pace. And, Underwood finally has some track position, but he has not been able to chill. He has constant pressure behind him and really has not been able to focus on the leader once tonight.
Yeah, Cardwell, he's got about a 1.5 second advantage over Toter. And I mean, that's really, it's kind of spaced out amongst your leaders. You have to go back to third place Underwood, who's kind of leading the fray here. But even Underwood's starting to get a little bit of a speed difference built up to Toter in the number 23 machine, down to about 0.4 of a second. As I don't think anybody wants to make a mistake here, because there is an angry hornet's nest behind your race leaders as drivers starting to get a little bit more spread out. But that's going to allow these guys to try and make the passes that they're a little bit more comfortable with. Use those 2 lines instead of maybe 4 different lines to try and secure it. And most importantly, drivers are going to be able to run their preferred line here now without having to battle quite as much. And I think you may see the lap times improve slightly from about second place back, as now they're getting a little bit of that clean track to play with.
I'd like to look back at the 8th place driver right now, John Foskey. We talked about him earlier. He got an EOL in his heat race, but he showed he was really fast. But he's up the most spots at the moment, not counting Ryan Underwood. He's up +5, but Foskey up +4. Pretty solid run. He's got a little ways in order to catch up to the guys in front of him, but showing his pace, and I think he is actually catching up to the couple cars in front of him as well.
Yeah, it's a game about consistency. We're looking like we're going to have that green flag run. Your race leader's starting to get a little bit spread out as Underwood's putting the pressure on Toter now for second place, but this is where you can see guys a little bit more likely, I should say, to try and show what they have. They've got a little bit less traffic to battle with, a little bit more time to think instead of surviving, and that will allow them to start putting down faster and faster laps. Now, Foskey's last time by was a 23:04. His fastest lap of the race, a 22:94. He's still about 0.4 off of Cardwell's fastest time, but I'd say a large portion of that could be how the track is going to be really slicking up here, as these guys are trying everything to pick different lines. It looks like now the drivers primarily running the high side, except for guys such as Underwood and Toter, who are staying glued to that inside line. So very interesting to see the preferred lines start to develop for these drivers as the track gets slower and slower for these competitors.
Yeah, you know, I saw Underwood run the bottoms or the top side just a couple corners ago, but one time, and now he's straight to the bottom. I am starting to see, though, a lot of guys are liking to run the middle or the mid-high line in 1 and 2, but then glued to the bottom in 3 and 4. At least that's what Ryan Underwood is doing, and he is getting really close to the 23 of Toter as they go through 3 and 4, but unable to get the pass done. Toter really running his own line, but defending very well for that second place spot.
And look how ridiculously bumpy it is coming out of turn 4. Both Toter and Underwood just getting bucked through the corners here. Those acceleration bumps starting to play a role. And I think it's very interesting how close they're getting to that inside wall. I believe it's through 3 and 4. Both drivers have a wheel, what would be the apron if we were running a typical asphalt course. And there can't be more than 6 inches between themselves and that inside concrete wall, just looking for any sort of grippy dirt out here to put that front left on, let that tire bite, and let the rest of the car follow them through here. But as the run develops, they appear to be moving off the outside wall, or inside wall, excuse me, a little bit slightly, except for the exit of 4. So they are looking for that fast line as Toter still running second. He's got Underwood glued to the rear bumper of that number 23 machine. And Cardwell in the 70, he is able to really check out here. He's got almost a 1.5 seconds over Toter, Underwood, and now Dylan Perry, the number 7 machine, that are shaping up to be this 3-car battle for second.
And we were looking back there, near contact there between Underwood and Toter, but we were looking back there just a few seconds ago at John Foskey, who has basically cleared himself into P7. He just got past Kyle Parker, so and rolling that bottom line, so he is still making up positions, and more contact in 3 and 4, or 1 and 2 actually, between the 46 and the 23. These guys are really going at it, and Underwood wants to run that bottom line, and Toter did not want to give it to him.
Yeah, they're heavily leaning on each other at this point. As here we go again into 3 and 4. Underwood makes contact with Toter. Toter's going to get pushed wide off of that preferred inside line. You may see Underwood slide up and secure second place, but if I was a betting man, and boy am I think you're going to see Ethan Toter try and respond as quickly as he can, as now he's going to pressure Underwood to the outside line. Meanwhile, Dylan Perry, that number 7 machine, he's watching this battle unfold and just hoping that these two fast drivers make a single mistake that can cost them both an event. But what's extremely important now is everyone's going to be approaching lap traffic, and that is going to really throw a wrench into things as they're coming around Jordan Van Western in the number 12 machine. Jordan yields that inside line, that preferred line, to the race leaders. But this is where things get exciting for everybody involved from Cardwell back. Not only do you have to worry about your own driving and making the fewest amount of mistakes possible, now you've got to really trust your competitors not to make a mistake that could possibly ruin your night. And oh man, this is a good one, my friend.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought the lap traffic thing up because, you don't necessarily, guys are going to be respectful, but, they're still on the track, and sometimes the lap cars are just driving in the lane that you want to drive in, and, it can be irritating, but it's, they can't just disappear, they have to run their race as well. But those are the kind of things that'll bunch up guys. They'll create more passing. Lap traffic creates passing because it puts kind of an obstacle in the field for these faster guys to get around, and it's going to be something that Cardwell, he hasn't really had to pass really anybody all night long. He's been up at the front all night, so he's going to have to negotiate this traffic cleanly. He's got plenty of space behind him, but as far as the battle for second, third, and fourth between Underwood, Toter, and Perry, that's going to just make this even more intense because, as we have a caution, that's going to change everything.
It's going to be Smith and I think Blau both involved in that one as we get an instant replay pulled up for everybody. Yeah, you're watching Smith, number 39 machine. Ooh, who got loose there? That was the 224, I think. And then that was just carnage. That was Joshua Johnson, I believe, as well as I think Blau. But that's going to collect a few drivers here as the field comes to a little bit of a slowdown. Not many laps left to go in this main event, so we're going to get them stacked back up, and I'm very curious to see how this is going to affect things. It's going to be 5 laps left to go, and we're watching another angle of it here as we get the drivers back behind our iRacing safety car. So it looks like it's going to be Daniel Blau, and I believe Kyle Parker comes into pit road, number 13 machine.
Yeah, Brett Carlton was involved in that one. He was one of the cars that got
there's
loose.
a replay.
Oh yeah,
That's
one car
a crash
was
and a half.
Wow, car's going up into the fence.
BC Smith using that safety fence to its full advantage. He will get launched to orbit. Going to be interesting to see if he's still rolling on track somehow.
Nah, these dirt late models, they're tough. They're tough.
Yeah, they've got to be. The drivers are tough. The cars are tough.
Well, also, no meatball flags in a lot of dirt cars now. I know they're true in the street stocks. I'm pretty confident that's true in the late models as well. But these guys are going to run if their car's drivable. They're gonna try to finish this thing.
Now Ryan Siniker makes a great point as well. This could give Ryan Underwood, currently second on track in that number 46. He's up 6 spots here today, but now he may have a chance of bringing home the gold here, as this caution is going to put everybody together. As I believe it was Underwood was about a 1.3, 1.4 seconds back from Cardwell, who's out front just hot lapping, not having any woes or problems. So this is going to stack the field up, and I'm very intrigued to see how things are going to go and what type of aggressiveness we're going to see with 6 laps left to go.
Now, granted, this will be a single file restart, so if Cardwell gets a good jump here, he may be able to get away and run away. His lap times were good enough, by himself to preserve the win, but now he's going to have pressure behind him. Might change some things.
Yeah, I'm intrigued. I'm excited. I'm a little bit nervous as the green flag flies, and they're already bumping and grinding. Davin Cardwell holding on to it, gets an early gap over Underwood. Now, what we didn't really account for is another caution that's about to come out. I believe it's going to be Justin Sick involved in that one.
Oh, yeah. So that's a classic case there of what we talked about earlier with having different agendas going into the turns. Some guys are going to check up and, for other drivers or themselves to try to get a better line off, and other guys really want to dive it in there. And sometimes there's a miscommunication on that. It's hard to tell what the driver in front of you is going to try to do in that situation. And sometimes that leads to contact. And when everybody's bunched up on a single file restart, it's the most likely time to happen.
Yeah, poor The poor number 5 machine of Dustin Seek just nowhere to go, gets absolutely runs over, and then the rest of the field comes in his tow. I believe I saw the number 25 machine, Cody Terry. He went for a wild ride as well. Hopefully not too much damage on these machines as we get them stacked back up. And it's going to be Cardwell and Underwood still up front. Now, Cardwell has been getting spectacular launches here. It seems like he immediately gets about 3 to 4 tenths over the rest of the field. So I'm wondering if Underwood's going to be so tied up with Toter, with Perry, maybe even Spees in the mix here, if he's going to have a tough time chasing down the leader, instead just kind of be stuck defending out on track.
Well, that'll for sure be true if he doesn't get a very good, jump like he did last time. Cardwell had a very good jump on this last restart and just completely capped the field. So the 46, he's going to have to come up with something special to really be able to compete with the 70 if he's going to do another restart like that again.
Dylan Perry, he's with Chip Bangers Racing. He's looking at a good spot in that number 7 machine to try and get up on a podium. He just needs one mistake from the leaders as we go green once more. Let's see if we can get a lap going as the field stacks up from about 4th place back. Cardwell with another spectacular launch. Underwood trying his best to catch up to, and Toter also trying to get in the mix. We've seen great battles from these drivers all night long as we dive it into turns 3 and 4. Are we going to see a battle for the lead unfold, or is Underwood going to be happy with the 2nd place and some secure points to try and wrap up this season here?
Well, I definitely don't think he'll be happy with a 2nd place, but he's definitely closer this time around. He got a better restart, not fantastic, but here he goes. He has a decent run down out of turn 2, but I like what the 70 car's doing, just running his line. I doubt he's even looking in his mirror. He's just trying to hit his marks and guard that bottom line out of 3 and 4, as we just have a couple laps to go here. And Underwood's kind of gapping the 3rd place car, Toter behind him, although Toter runs a different line to try to make up the difference. But this is as close as Underwood's been. I don't know if he's in striking distance, though.
Yeah, this is going to be very, very close. Toter, we did a brief onboard with him, showing just how tight they're getting on that inside wall. Seen a little bit of scrapes off that machine as here comes Underwood to challenge for the race lead. You've got Cardwell, he goes to the inside line. Underwood off of his preferred line as the white flag flies here at USA International. Underwood doing whatever he can to try and pick up a spot. He looks to the inside line. They're going to make contact. Davin Cardwell, Ryan Underwood putting on a show up front in the closing lap here at USA International. And I think it's going to be Cardwell brings it home.
Cardwell held him off. That was a photo finish. What an awesome battle to the end. And I thought that was going to get kind of ugly there, but those guys, they were aggressive, but they kept it clean. That was a fantastic finish.
Yeah, all these drivers so experienced, so talented. They know what they can get away with. And as much as they want that win, they are not going to risk their own machinery that could throw away a perfectly good evening for them. So these guys are very, very smart. They're champions and not just weekend warriors. But Cardwell is going to bring home another win. Underwood 2nd, and Toter will bring home a 3rd. What a spectacular race here today.
Yeah, that was quite the race. We ended up going a long green flag run, like what I was thinking one of the outcomes could have been, but then stacked some things up there at the end. And what a nice finish that was. We look at the feature results there that were on the screen, but Davin Cardwell, our victor tonight, with Ryan Underwood in 2nd, Ethan Toter in 3rd, Dylan Perry in 4th, Steven Spees picks up a top 5. John Foskey, good run for him, 12th to 6th, with Zach Chapman 10th to 7th, and Colin Voiles 16th to 8th, got halfway through the field tonight. Justin Seek drops down to 9th after being in some contact earlier, and Brett Carlton rounds out the top 10.
Great racing all the way around. We're going to try and get our top 3 drivers up here into victory lane for the post-race interviews. Don't go anywhere, as we're going to get 3 very talented drivers up in the booth with us and tell us about their thoughts, and we'll be right back with our fastest drivers of the night.
Nationals, presented by Carrier, Cool Ray Heating and Cooling, Houston Guttering, Combs Cuts, ShowMeDirt.com, 107 Tire and Service Center, Renegade Racing Fuels, Chip Bangers Racing, and Vortex Wraps.
And we are back after an exciting finale of that feature race. These guys put on a fantastic show all the way through. A lot of fun watching them in this fall dirt track series. It was a great race, Kenny. But up first, we're going to get Ethan Toder up in the booth with us, the number 23 machine, picking up a third. Let's see if we can drag him up here. Good. Got him. There we go. Ethan, you got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Ethan, great run out there in the 23 machine, charging through the field. You've lost one spot overall, but I think with how wild that night was, you've got to be happy still in podium contention after a fantastic run here today at USA International.
Yeah, we only finished one spot behind Underwood, and I don't know how much that's going to shuffle up points with Davin. I know he was, I think, over 100 back from me and Underwood. It's pretty close with me and Underwood, so I just wanted to stay close to Underwood. I was honestly hoping Davin would pull that one off, so I didn't have to try to run down Underwood in points again.
Now, Ethan, we saw everybody kind of searching for different lines, but it seemed like you were happiest on that inside line, front left, almost on that concrete wall. Was there just a little bit more grip there throughout the run, or what was the strategy here?
There in warm-ups, the top was really good, so that my first lap, I just hit the top, and then I cannot run the top there. You have to send it in so hard, and somehow you have to back it down without destroying the fence, so I just went to the bottom, and it wasn't bad. Everybody pretty much migrated to the bottom, so I just stayed there.
Sorry, I didn't mean to step on you, but I mean, an absolute great run out there. The number 23 machine looked strong all night. Most importantly, I think you kept it clean and you weren't involved in some of the carnage we saw out there. Before I let you sign off and celebrate with the rest of the gang, who would you like to give a shout out to? Fans, friends, family, sponsors, the floor is yours.
Yeah, my mom and dad and my stepdad, they're all watching me right now. Thank you to them. Terra House Frenchies, my team, FTP, we've really been working hard to get fast. Tac 3 Defense and iRacing iFlag.
Well, Ethan, great job, man. Hope to see you with that continued success. And as always, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
That was Ethan, our third place driver here tonight. Up next, we've got Ryan Underwood bringing home second in the number 46 machine.
I'm down here in the virtual grip, virtual pits with Ryan Underwood. Ryan, you know, you started with some adversity. You started deep in the field in the your heat race, made up quite a few spots, but still had to start near the middle of the field for the feature race. Talk about what it was like getting through the traffic and having to try to make up those spots and even get a chance for the lead.
Yeah, I had to pass people as quickly as I could. I got stuck behind Ethan there for probably 15 laps. I think I really slowed down my momentum. If I would have been able to get around him, I think I would have been able to catch Davin if we wouldn't have had a caution. But Davin was fast all night. Starting on pole, I think, really helped him so he could stay out there in that clean air. But once I got to him, I think we put on a really good show there at the end of the race.
You definitely did. That was quite the show at the end. Now, talk about that too. You know, you got into second place and you're kind of just running, riding around, but then you got that caution. What was going through your mind when you realized you actually, you could completely eliminate the lead and be right there behind the 70 car?
I knew I would have to make a move down the backstretch to be able to get any chance of them because 3 and 4 it was just glued to the bottom. So I was trying to run the middle and kind of cut down a little bit. I was catching him. I'd get a run, but it just wasn't a big enough run. He was able to hold that bottom the whole race.
Well, Ryan, you definitely showed a lot of grit and a lot of fight to maintain your points lead in this spring-fall nationals. Who do you have to thank for the run tonight, and who gets it done for the 46 car?
Cody for putting on this whole deal, y'all for broadcasting, everybody at Team VLR, CI Performance, Mecca Motorsports and Northside Graphics and Designs, all they do for me, Bighorn Taxidermy, Elite Performance Graphics, and everybody in the car.
Thanks, Ryan, for talking to us. That was our second place driver, Ryan Underwood. And I think James will catch up with our winner tonight, Davin Cardwell, in the number 70.
Davin, is James in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Davin, great run out there. It seemed like you were one of the dominant drivers all night long, seeming to have a little bit less problems than it looked like. You were the restart king out there, able to stretch your legs early on every caution. So at one point you had almost a second and a half over the rest of the field. Were you a little apprehensive when we had that final late caution, or were you feeling pretty comfortable at that time?
I was in my rhythm there whenever we didn't. Well, when we were on a good green flag run there, and then on that restart, I was a little bit scared, and Underwood was really fast there, and he was actually faster than us, but we was able to keep him behind us, and just it played in our favor, and we grabbed the win.
Now, Davin, with this short format race, only 30 laps for the feature event, and so many points on the line, were you expecting things a little bit more hectic out there, or what was the expectations?
Well, I know that Underwood and Ethan was going to run us clean there, and I really appreciate Underwood for not running us over in the last, or in 3 and 4, because he could have definitely run through us and easily won that race, but he lifted, and I really appreciate that, and hats off to him for running second and Ethan running third, and it was a really fun race.
Now, you guys run together all the time throughout the year. Do you think that helps attribute with the respect we have amongst our drivers that allows you guys to bump and grind and lean on each other so heavily without having those big racing ending incidents?
Oh yeah, for sure. The whole top 5 there, I can pretty much race with all of them, and no, I'm not gonna get hit or nothing. So it definitely pays off to race throughout the year and just race side by side all the time. And I have tons of respect for everybody in the race, and everything just played out in our favor tonight, and I appreciate it.
Fantastic win, man. You definitely earned it from start to finish. It was a lot of fun watching you guys race hard and clean throughout the duration of the event. Before we let you sign off, who would you like to give a shout out or thanks to that's cheering you and supporting the number 70 machine this season?
Well, first off, I got to thank Cody for putting this whole league on and everything, and everyone who sponsors this deal. And I got to thank Elite iRacing Graphics, Chip Bangers Racing, Rocket Racing Chassis, my wonderful girlfriend for watching, supporting all the time, and just everyone who helps.
Well, as always, great run, man. Hopefully this continues into the next round on November 9th, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
And that was your race winner, Davin, bringing home the win in that number 70 machine. Kenny, it was I think all things considered, a lot cleaner than what we expected going into tonight, but how did you think things went from your point of view?
Yeah, I think those first few laps were obviously going to be chaos, but this track's wide enough, and there's such a varying in lines, and once the guys could get into a rhythm and kind of get spread out, I was pretty confident these guys were going to be able to hold their own and run some green flag laps. But boy, were those restarts chaotic, and even the single file restart there at the very end of the race was just chaos. And but these guys kept it clean. They raced hard, some occasional contact, but you'll have that in dirt racing. But what a finish there at the end. I would have been heartbroken for Davin there if he wouldn't have been able to, rein in this victory at the end. But man, it made for some good television for sure.
Yeah, I agree. That's why they call it the Pro Late Model Series, and not the We Don't Know What We're Doing Dirt Racing Series. So great run from all of these guys. Fantastic racing. I gotta say, probably one of my favorite dirt events I've had the pleasure of covering. And just spectacular racing. Looking forward to coming back. I believe we're going to be back here November 9th at Volusia for the next round. Excuse me, that's going to be not 11. Apologies, folks. It's late. November 17th for our next round here. That'll be at Volusia. So looking forward to that one. And I believe we have another VGN broadcast coming up soon as well. Is that correct, Kenny?
Yeah, so at another dirt event, it'll be Bootleg Racing League's Dirt Street Stock Series, which is always a Friday event. They'll be at Lernerville Speedway for that one. I've been occasionally running that league, and I'm occasionally in the booth for that league. So it's a fun one to watch. It's a fun one to compete in. So come and check that one out.
Awesome. Kenny, great time working with you today. We had Mike in the production booth absolutely killing it behind the cameras today, making us all look nice and pretty. Thank you all so much that tuned in from across the world for this Pro Late Model Dirt Series. This has been a production of the Pro Late Model Dirt Series, Skidder Creek Motorsports Group, and the Virtual Grip Network. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and we'll see you very soon. Have a great night, everyone.